Good morning, YouTube, Booktube. This is Johnny. I should follow the script. I thought I'd make a video. My wife just left for her physical therapy session. It is 7:24 in the morning here in West Michigan. It is March the 3rd, 2020. Yeah, and life just keeps zooming by. I thought about doing a video tonight because my wife goes back to work. She works Tuesday and Wednesday this week, and as you all know, she's going to fully retire this coming June. She told me this morning that what was the context? Oh, she was going to go at her physical therapy. She was going to go to Walmart pharmacy to because now that we're getting Social Security and we're on Medicaid, that we're allotted a certain amount of money that we can spend each month, like $50 for things like aspirins and toothpaste. And she says, well, I got to use that money, so she's got to go buy something. So anyway, but she was mentioning that, yeah, our life is going to really change in June because then we go into a fixed income. So my years of buying books, now, as I've mentioned in these videos over the last couple of years, I mainly buy used books. But I do buy new books. And I did get a new book in the mail yesterday. And this is the book I bought. I collect this series, New Studies in Biblical Theology. I don't buy every single one of them because there's, I don't know, there's like 51 right now in this series. And I don't buy every single one of them when they come out, but this one I have, this is by Matthew. Well, the title of is Canon, Covenant, Christology, Rethinking Jesus and the Scriptures of Israel by Matthew Barrett. I have his a book of his downstairs called, what's it called? I have another book of his downstairs on the attributes of God. But anyway, this one really interests me. I got this in the mail yesterday, and I've been reading it. I read it all yesterday afternoon and into the evening hours. And yesterday was a Monday. As you all know, I volunteer at our local library used bookstore, the Book Nook. And I haven't mentioned this, but I've been getting back into reading The Dream Part by Rodrigo Fresan, translated from the Spanish by Vanderhyden. Reason why I got back into this, there is a booktuber who devotes his channel to reviewing translations, works that have been translated out of different languages into English, and he reviewed this. He also reviewed the invented part. This is part 2 of a trilogy. The first part was the invented part. This is the dream part. And so this is what I read yesterday when I was at the Book Nook, and I've been reading it last week when getting away from reading Voldman and The Lucky Star. So one thing else is I'm on page 227 this morning and my 2020 diary is March, and yeah, today is a Tuesday in the history of mankind. Well, like I said, I was going to do a video tonight, but I thought we're doing one this morning. And what I'm going to do this morning, I have a lot of used books. at thrift stores last week. Books that my wife got me at a local library, used books. But I'm just going to show the books I got at the Book Nook Mondays and, well, this Monday and then last Friday at the Book Nook. So I'm just going to show these and not go into description of them. But I picked up at the Book Nook Kurt Vonnegut, what's it called? Armageddon and Retrospect, and other new unpublished writings on war and peace by Kurt Vonnegut. I have this already in a paperback, but I didn't have a hardback of this. And then I picked up William Gaddis's A Frolic of His Own. This is a very famous modernist novel. I had this in paperback, but this is a pristine hardback edition that came into the Book Nook. I bought it for $2. It goes for $25 when it was published, and I was really pleased to get this. William Gaddis is one of my favorite writers. He wrote also Recognitions, and he wrote other books, but this is his, he wrote J.R., he wrote Recognitions and The Carpenter's Gothic, but this is the perfect condition. Then I picked up a little Rilke pocket, Everyman's Library Pocket Poets. I have individual volumes of his poetry. I have a biography on Rilke. He was a German poet. So it's only $1. Well, $2. Then this is Edna Ferber, So Big, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. This came out, she lived from 1885 and she died in 1968. She won the Pulitzer Prize in 1925 for So Big. I read this one last Friday at the Book Nook, The Realists. These are like little biographical portraits on Stendhal, Balzac, Dickens, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Gaius, Henry James, and Proust by C.B. Snow. I collect the writings of C.B. Snow. I have maybe 9 of his novels. He did a series of novels called Strangers and Brothers. And the last one I was reading was on Henry James. So I've been reading this off and on. And I picked this up yesterday at the Book Nook. Shylock Is My Name, a novel, William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, retold by Howard Jacobson. I collect the writings of Howard Jacobson. I have 3 or 4 of his novels, and I've read some of his novels, and picked this up at the Book Nook. And then I picked up yesterday The Defining Moment, FDR's 100 Days in Triumph of Hope by Jonathan Alter. I found out when I was cataloging this in my library things site, I already have a copy of this, so I'll take this back to the Book Nook Friday. Then I picked up yesterday at the Book Nook The Lords of Finance, The Bankers Who Broke the World by Liaquat Ahamed. I can't pronounce that name. Can't pronounce it, but this was a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I like reading books on economic history, on financiers, bankers. So I picked this up for $1, and I don't think it, so I picked this up, The Lords of Finance. Then I picked up Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. I have this, but this is a Norton Critical Edition. I collect Norton Critical Editions. So I picked this up. There were books that came into the Book Nook yesterday that I looked at, but they're all underlined. They're all underlined, and so I didn't. But these were not underlined. And this is a novel by Oliver Stone, the movie. He's a writer and director of movies, Platoon, JFK, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, The Doors, Born on the 4th of July. Born on the 4th of July is one of my favorite Oliver Stone films. Salvador, Wall Street, Heaven and Earth. But he wrote this novel, Oliver Stone, A Child's Night's Dream. So I picked this up. And then I picked up this book, The Last Call, The Rise and Fall of the Prohibition. In American history, there was that time period where they shut down alcohol and beer and liquor, and this is the history of that little episode in American history. The Last Call, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition by Daniel Okerent. So I picked this up. You'll see a theme running throughout all my videos, that I am a student of American history, not only American Christian history of Christianity in America, but also just a history of America from the founding fathers up until the modern times. So that's one thing I noticed, that if you watch my videos, that I'm a student. I don't really read primarily to be entertained or to escape from the everyday world. I just like reading about learning new things. I like looking at history of America, certain episodes in world history, history of art, history of literature, especially literary history. You'll see that in the novels that I choose. That I like literary fiction. I like reading about poets and writers and thinkers, philosophers, mystics, bohemians, beatniks, dreamers, people who've fallen off the edge. That's why I was reading The Lucky Stars by William T. Voldman, about prostitutes and misfits and lost souls. It's one thing, that last video, I got 3 thumbs down on that video, and I don't know why, if they don't like William T. Voldman or they didn't like my political satirical comments about the last days. But I grew up, my mother, as you all know, I never knew my father. I was born out of wedlock. And my mother was a pretty wild person when she was alive. As you all know, I mentioned that in 1968, she was coming home from work in December of 1968, and an ambulance hit her and killed her. She was just driving home to work. And my mother was a barmaid. My mother was a cocktail waitress and a barmaid. And I grew up among alcoholics. I grew up among barmaids. And my relatives were alcoholics. And when I became a Christian in 1970, I worked with street people, people in the counterculture, people who were hippies and people like that. And then I worked in a rescue mission for a couple of years on Skid Row in Richmond, California. I worked among street people, people who were prostitutes, people who were alcoholics, people who were homeless. And I always thought that that's how I would spend the rest of my life, was working with people outside of society, outside of mainstream society. But then when around 1976, 77, my life changed and I decided I was going to go into the gospel ministry. So I had to finish college. So I wanted to go to a Calvinistic college, and so around 1970, 77, 78, I left California and I went to Reformed Bible College here in Michigan. But anyway, the point is I've always felt more comfortable with people who are not in the mainstream, because those are the kind of people I grew up with. People I kind of consider the social group I most feel comfortable with. Maybe that's why I never went into the gospel ministry, because if you're in Reformed, Calvinistic, Presbyterian circles, they tend to be an educated class, people who are more professional. But anyway, so that's why I read. I think that, and I've always, I loved writing. I wish I could have been a writer, but it didn't work out. I thought I'd be a soul doctor. I thought I'd be a spiritual kind of person who would be able to preach and teach the Bible until he died in the pulpit, but that didn't work out. So now I'm going on 68 years old, and I just read books and write in my diary and pray that the Lord comes quickly. So I just thought I'd show you these used books. I bought the Book Nook, the library used bookstore. I have a whole 20 other used books. I got 2 new books coming in the mail today. So yeah. So this morning I was, like I said, I started reading Canon, Covenant, and Christology, Rethinking Jesus and the Scriptures of Israel by Barrett. I also got out last night this little book, Handbook on the New Testament Use of the Old Testament, Exegesis and Interpretation by G.K. Beale. So I was looking at this last night also because it's quoted in this book, and I got it out of the lower level. So yeah. So I hope you had a good weekend. Hoping you have a good reading week. I thank you for the new subscribers and for the comments. And yeah, if you are the people who give the thumbs down, I mean, there's one person who always gives a thumb down, and if you don't, I'd like to know why. You know, I could show a video of a bird or flowers or the sky, and the person would put a thumbs down. So I don't know. It's kind of like, you know, we all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be considered normal in this world that is full of insanity. So if you don't like me out there who's putting the thumbs down, hey, tell me why. I mean, I kind of look at myself as just a normal guy. I love the Lord Jesus. I love the Word of God. I want to love my neighbor. I want to love God, worship Him, adore Him, exalt Him. You know, I don't want to be a bummer. I want to be a light in this world. So once again, I might make a video tonight showing the rest of the used books I bought at thrift stores, but we'll see. So until next time, I hope you're having a good day, and yeah, bye.